Time for another edition of the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast. Jeff Chadiha, Sam McDowell, Soren Petro with you. We are talking about who the most instrumental players are for the Chiefs. We're going to rank them. What's going to be the players? What's the list of players that will mean the most to this team getting back to being a Super Bowl contender? I think we all know who number one is going to be, so we'll talk about him. Patrick Mahomes and what his value means to everything, but then we're going to do a draft style. Therefore, whoever you think is got the highest is going to have a chance to put it up there. We're basically drafting out the most important players for the Kansas City Chiefs in this 2026 season. We're doing it right now on the Red, Gold, and Bold.
You are listening to the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast, the most in-depth analysis of the Kansas City Chiefs on planet Earth, breaking down the Chiefs like no one else can. Red, Gold, and Bold is hosted by Jeff Chadiha, Sam McDowell, and Soren Petro. Jeff Chadiha is a senior columnist and on-air personality for the NFL Network and NFL.com. Sam McDowell is a columnist for the Kansas City Star. Soren Petro is the afternoon drive host of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. The Red, Gold, and Bold podcast is proudly brought to you by Gann Asphalt and Concrete, Kansas City's nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor, making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews, and every project comes with a written warranty. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, one contractor, all things parking lot. Now, here are the hosts of the Best Chiefs podcast, Jeff Chadiha, Sam McDowell, and Soren Petro.
Thank you very much, Curtis. We do appreciate it. Off and running here on a Tuesday night. Remember, if you're catching us via the podcast, you can be a part of the conversation by joining us live on the YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, all kinds of different formats. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, and you can find out where we are, but we are live, and of course have a number of people already in the chat room. You can chime in with your thoughts and opinions. We like to answer some of the questions that we can, some of the ones that are thoughtful. You know what I'm saying? We'll get to those when we can, but let's talk about who the most instrumental players are for this team to get back to being a Super Bowl contender. I think we've all got Patrick Mahomes number one on our list. Sam, you want to lead us off as to what, not necessarily why he's number one. We all know why he's number one. If you're a quarterback, you're probably tops to begin with. If you're a great quarterback, it speaks for itself, but really how much of it is about Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah, I think more than ever before. And look, it should be that way. They're paying him more than they ever have before. When you've got less room to pay the rest of your roster, the rest of your roster gets weaker. But I think when you look at the last couple of years, they're asking more of Patrick Mahomes than they ever have. And I think there was a time in 2019 when Patrick Mahomes missed 2 games and Matt Moore almost won 1 game and he won the other, playing 2 pretty good teams. It was Green Bay and Minnesota, where you thought, wow, this scheme and the rest of the talent around the quarterback position is enough to at least compete. And I just don't think that when you look at this whole scenario of Justin Fields has to start. And I know we've had this conversation on this podcast before, but I don't think they win more than 5 games if you have someone like Justin Fields starting.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because it speaks to where they are as a franchise, how much thinner they've been. We've done that when we did the 53-man roster, as we all thought we were looking for guys to add to the roster, not who was going to be the tough cut. Jeff, Mahomes, instrumental, of course, obviously. How instrumental, and do you agree with Sam how much he means?
Well, obviously he means a ton, but, Sam's right. You look at the last couple of years and what they've lost and what's been around him. It really has been a slow decline. And it's been hard to really measure it because they've had success outside of this past year, great success. But I've often argued that most of this team's supporting cast has always been about Chris Jones, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill for a certain period of time, Tyrann Mathieu for a certain period of time. But the supporting cast hasn't always been that great. And look at what a lot of guys have done once they've left here. Outside of Tyreek Hill, and maybe Trent McDuffie this year, and Jalen Watson, those guys changed the course of this mindset that I have about them. But I just feel like they haven't had as much talent as we think that we think they've had. And Mahomes has carried them a lot more than he probably needed to do. And so for me, yeah, I think this exercise is going to tell a lot about where they're at and also indicate how they got here.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. Sam, are you gonna chime in something?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would say I don't think that looking at what the players here have done elsewhere is necessarily the best barometer for the amount of talent that he had, for a couple of reasons. One, they had guys in their prime, and then they went elsewhere and they were no longer in the prime. Two, they kept Travis Kelce and Chris Jones. I mean, the two guys, along with Tyreek Hill, who I think would be ranked 1, 2, and 3 on this list in some order during the course of the dynasty. And those guys have just simply aged. They're just simply not as effective as they once were. But like having Tyreek Hill in his prime and Travis Kelce in his prime simultaneously, and, Mitchell Schwartz and Eric Fisher. I mean, and not that Eric Fisher was an all-pro, but like he had a pretty good offense to work with when he first came into the league. I mean, it was an offense good enough to where Alex Smith won the division with that roster.
I think that's a good point. Yeah, I see where Jeff's going to, though. I do think it is a part of it. Like he raises the level of all those guys play, and when they don't have Patrick Mahomes, I mean, McCole Hardman for a while. I mean, people have given real money to guys when they leave here to find out that like McCole Hardman can't, even get on the field for the Jets when they're at the bottom of their run. So I mean, I think there's truth in what you're saying. I don't think it's the whole way to measure everything, but I think it's one way to measure it. I think it's pretty effective. We all agree that Patrick Mahomes is number one overall, right? That he's the top guy. Now the real draft begins, right? Who is tops besides Patrick Mahomes? We actually did not talk about it, what the order was. I'll go third because it's easier for me to type everything in. Jeff, you want to lead? Sam, you want to lead? Who's itching? Who loves their number two so much they got to make him number two?
Go for it.
All right, Jeff.
Okay.
You get the honors.
This is a pretty easy one. I'll go Kenneth Walker. Just
Okay.
because he was the biggest free agent acquisition. He is playing a position that was a huge problem for this team last year. He is coming off a year where he was a Super Bowl MVP, proved himself as obviously one of the best options in free agency. And this team is relying heavily on him to energize a run game that's going to take some pressure off of Patrick Mahomes. And so he's the most important piece in all this because 15 is coming off an ACL. We have questions about the receiving core. He's coming in here to be a dynamic player. Eric Bieniemy is back here as offensive coordinator to help the run game. There's so many things that revolve around what this guy does that if he's not playing at a high level, I don't see how this team is playing at a high level.
Sam, first of all, do you have Kenneth Walker number two on your list?
No.
Where'd you have Kenneth Walker? We'll put that out there for each of us.
Okay, so I actually just assumed we all had Mahomes one. So I ranked.
We all do have Mahomes number one.
I know, but I'm saying my next guy's actually ranked 1, 2, 3, 4. I had Kenneth Walker fourth.
I have Kenneth Walker fourth as well.
Wow. Okay.
So interesting. But fourth, he was very prominent. I will say
it's higher than I ever thought I'd rank a running back.
It is. I would agree.
Fourth is very high for a running back.
I would agree, but I think it's interesting maybe how we all approach this, right? Because like I think Patrick Mahomes is the key. I think you got to throw the ball, but I think we're talking about for this team, instrumental for this team. They clearly, based upon their offseason moves, said, well, the offensive coordinator is not tough enough on guys. The receivers coach needs to be improved, and we just need a new running back. We're done. So they have said Kenneth Walker is really the only player we need based upon how they handled this offseason. That's why I have no problem with Jeff having him number two.
If you believe that the Chiefs' offense is going to be better, it's because of Kenneth Walker. To your point, Stern.
Yes.
I mean, I will help bolster Jeff's argument, even though it's not my top guy, because like I have him, like I said, higher than I anticipated any running back. He led the NFL in avoided tackle percentage last year. Isaiah Pacheco was 52nd. He was third in the NFL in explosive run percentage. Isaiah Pacheco was 44th last year. Like this is a massive difference in talent at that position compared to what they had a year ago.
Yeah, I think it's a really important point. And I'll also say that Sam and I were talking today during the radio show. We thought about the idea of making it just most important people. And then guys like Chad O'Shea and Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy might have cracked this list, but we decided we all went with players, so it's just players. But and I think for that reason, the fact that it is just players is even more reason to say Kenneth Walker, because Kenneth Walker kind of encompasses Eric Bieniemy and Andy Reid scheming the right way. It's all kind of folded into him and what he will do statistically. So I have no problem with Kenneth Walker at number 2. All right, Sam, you've got the 3rd pick. What do you do with that? Who was number 2 on your list then?
I've got Josh Simmons, and he was the highest rank on my list outside of Mahomes. And I mean, really, it's never been more important to protect Patrick Mahomes than it is going to be this year. He's coming off of an ACL injury. We don't know exactly what his mobility is going to be. We've talked about the effect of his mobility and how big of an imprint that has on his overall game. And that might not be at full strength. It probably won't be at full strength. It's possible we'll be deep into the season still talking about the fact that he's not scrambling the way that he used to. You are going to have to protect him. And it's Josh Simmons, I think, for a couple of reasons. One, you look at last year, and I think I've mentioned this stat on this podcast before. I wrote about it a couple of weeks ago, but 6 times last year, the Chiefs allowed a pressure rate of higher than 35%. All 6 times, Josh Simmons was out. It was games he did not play. You can't win if Patrick Mahomes is not as mobile as he usually is, and you're allowing a pressure rate of 40%. Like that combination is not going to work. And so I talked about last year, the second half of it is this year. I don't know who else plays left tackle if Josh Simmons does not. And so that, to me, makes him extremely instrumental to their success this year.
I think that's a pretty valid point. I mean, I have him number 2 on my list as well. I think it's, you can't win without Patrick Mahomes. You got to protect Patrick Mahomes. Plus, I think the games he didn't play, we saw there was a big difference. If he plays and becomes the player that they think he can be, and that's a shutdown left tackle, then everything gets easier. Everything gets easier. Yep. And so I know he was there, but he was only there part-time and he rehab. All the things you said, Sam. I think, you can't win without Patrick Mahomes. So if you're going to get him on the field and keep him on the field, the lack of mobility for Patrick Mahomes, he's even more important. I had Simmons number 2 on my list as well. So I got no problem with that. Where did you have Josh Simmons, Jeff?
He was 5 for me. So
wow.
We were completely reversed on this one. You guys didn't like the running back as much. I think I can make an argument for the 3 guys in between Kenneth Walker and him.
Right I hope so, because
you're going to have to.
Yeah. And I think most people in the comment section could probably figure out who those 3 are going to be.
Have they figured out who they're going to be?
I've seen some ones already.
Okay. All right. We'll cheat a little bit and kind of hype where it might go. All right, so we've got the first couple. We've gone through Patrick Mahomes. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll get into number 3 on the list right after you hear from our friends at GAN. Your parking lot says a lot about your business. Cracks, potholes, faded striping, and damaged concrete can create safety concerns and leave the wrong impression with customers. GAN Asphalt and Concrete helps Kansas City businesses protect their properties with asphalt paving, seal coating, crack filling, parking lot striping, concrete work, and repairs. Their experienced crews deliver quality workmanship and dependable service on every project. Whether you need routine maintenance or a complete parking lot overhaul, GAN is ready to help you. Get started today with a free estimate at GANAsphalt.com. GAN Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lots. Italian Delight was the first restaurant to bring true New York-style pizza to Kansas City almost 50 years ago. They sell whole pies or pizza by the slice, or enjoy their classic strombolis, calzones, and sausage rolls. Sandwich lovers, check out their lineup of hot and cold subs, the combo, the meatball, or the Philly cheesesteak, just to name a few. And don't forget the pasta. Their famous lasagna and classic chicken Alfredo always hit the spot. And if you're hungry for lunch, check out their daily lunch specials, starting at under $10. Italian Delight can even cater your next work function or party. Dine in, carry out, or delivery, it's Italian Delight. Located just 3 minutes east of Kansas Speedway at 8145 State Ave in KCK. Check out the menu and order online at ItalianDelightKS.com. Kansas City's own Italian Delight. All right, I've got the next pick, the third pick, and I think this is where we might start to argue because I don't know that everybody's going to love this one, but I've got number 3, second verse, same as the first. It's Jalen Moore. I put down Jalen Moore slash. This is actually pick number 4 to Sam's point on the confusing nature of it, but I put down Jalen Moore slash like right tackle.
Like, no, that's cheating. No,
I put it down. But
I don't care what you put down.
That's what I wrote in my notes. Just can I make my case here?
No, I prefer to argue it before you made it.
Well, you're doing a great job. I've got I just think the offensive line has to be perfect for the guy. I mean, for all the reasons we just said. They have to protect Patrick Mahomes. They have to open lanes. Whatever the rushing game plan is going to be, it has to work. And Jalen Moore is a big question. This is one of those things like this is not a prediction that I think he's going to dominate. This is a point that he is going to be a huge determining factor in how they do. Is he jumping off sides? Is he getting penalties? We don't think so. But is he getting the quarterback wrecked? Then they've gotten nowhere. So listen, they signed this guy and didn't think he was good enough to take Jawan Taylor out at moments that Jawan Taylor was killing the team. This is a really scary one. And this is where I think it could go, from 0 to 100. And I think it may be giant in determining the future of this team, at least the outcome of this team in 2026. Jeff, where'd you have him?
I had him 10, but I also had him in the same way you had him, which is whoever wins right tackle. So I didn't really put a name to it.
Come on.
But I didn't expect to get to 10 on this list. So I guess I might get there with the way you guys are picking because it's like
why?
I got a lot of good names left. What's that?
I think you might use your top 5.
Well, do you agree with the rationale
I think go ahead, Jeff.
No, I agree with it. I guess personally, I didn't feel like offensive line was a major problem for this team last year. I get the logic of it, which is to say protect a quarterback who is your most precious asset and coming off an ACL. But I also feel like there are other areas of this team that are way more questionable and have as much of an impact, if not more, on what happens with this team this season than left and right tackle.
All right, did he make your list, Sam?
Yeah, he was 7th when you include Mahomes. I guess we should just establish the baseline. Mahomes is 1, and we're every other number's from there. So he's 7th on my list. Okay. It's because I think he's the front runner for the job. And I agree with what you said. I mean, if Jalen Moore is a good right tackle, they might have one of the best, 4 or 5 offensive lines in the league. Mm-hmm. If he winds up being a good right tackle.
If he's a good right tackle and Simmons is healthy, they should be no lower than 4 or 5.
Yeah, which, I mean, they should be because they've invested that amount in the offensive line. They should have a good offensive line. The reason that he's not as high on my list as he is on yours is I see more evident plan Bs at right tackle than I do elsewhere.
I mean, that's Sapole and,
I don't think the gap between Jalen Moore and Sapole is that big. I mean, the Chiefs don't either.
Which is a problem, which is to me why he's at this position is a big swing. Jalen Moore at $15 million a year I know, but he's the only guy that has the pedigree to be really good.
I think you could actually argue that Sapole is more important because he could be your future if he is good.
That I would not argue that. But we're talking about 26 for right now. And if Sapole plays, I'm not going to say they're going to be in trouble. I mean, if he's just one of these diamonds in the rough and they found a guy that can be a high-quality tackle that's been undrafted, they happen. They don't happen often. They happen less and less as time goes on. But if you gave $15 million to Jalen Moore, you saw something. I think he needs to be something when it's all said and done. All right, Jeff. So number 3 on your list is available to go at pick number 5. Who'd you have?
Yeah. The guy who makes more money than Josh Simmons and Jalen Moore combined, Chris Jones. Okay. Second highest paid player on the team and a player who's been great, but was just good last year. And if he's going to continue to be making the kind of money he's making and going to be continue to be asked to do the things that he's done in the past, and he's got to play at a much higher level. And I would say that also because this defense is going through a major overhaul. He is the most prominent, most accomplished, most talented player probably still on that side of the football. And if they're going to have issues over there, it's largely because he's not playing at a high level. They brought in Kyrus Tonga. They brought in Peter Woods. They've done other things. along the defensive line, our Mason Thomas being part of that to help him. But he's got to be a double-digit sack guy again. And if he's not, then there's going to be problems.
Yeah, I 100% agree that there will be problems if he doesn't get back to being a high-level player. I had him at number 6 on my list. Where was he on yours?
He was 4th on my list. I think it speaks to the decline over the past couple of years that I think was it last year or 2 years ago, we yanked him off of the possibilities because it was just an obvious number 2 behind Patrick Mahomes. I will say, I think, to again bolster Jeff's argument, last year he was not as effective, and guess what? The Chiefs could not get off the field on 3rd down. Like, when you can't generate pressure up the middle the way that he can, and you're getting average pressure on the edge, quarterbacks can pick you apart, and they pick you apart on 3rd down. And the Chiefs were 25th in the league in EPA on 3rd downs last year.
Yeah, I've got him. He was absolutely going to be a part of the equation for me. Just the more I thought about it, the more I think it's about the quarterback and the quarterback being healthy, and then the running game coming through is why I'm so heavily offensive up at the top. But I mean, Chris Jones, if he is not, I think you could put him number 2 on this list again, from the standpoint of you've now taken away every excuse for Chris Jones, not being able to perform. And we might get to some of the other names of the guys that they've put around him, but they've invested heavily in the rest of the players around him. So when you look at these other D lines that are playing well, and you're like, well, look, they've got a first, a second, and a third, right? Well, now all of a sudden with the Chiefs, you've got a first. I mean, of the starters, Peter Woods and George Karlaftis are first. Chris Jones is a second. R. Mason Thomas is a second. Ashton Gelati is a third. I mean, all of a sudden you've got, you gave a decent chunk of change for Tonga. You've put some money. Omar Norman Lott's at third. There's some investment in this defensive line. It can't suck. And the tip of the spear is Chris Jones. So I think there's every reason to put him very high on this list. Very high. All right. So Sam, your number 3 is still available to go at number 6. Who do you got?
Yeah, I'm getting my top 2 picks here. I've got Rashee Rice next. And okay. I think it's problematic that he's this high on the list. But that's the point, is they're counting on a guy this year offensively who the evidence shows that they shouldn't be counting on. And you could make this like really simple math. Like, the Chiefs are 6-0 in his career when he has at least 93 yards. They're 11-11 when he does not. Over the last 2 years, in the 5 games that he hasn't reached, in the last 2 years, he's reached 75 yards or more 7 times. They've scored at least 20 points all 7 times. In the 5 games that he didn't reach 75 yards, they scored 20 points just twice. Like, he is very key to their success. And again, I go back to the same thing I said about Josh Simmons at left tackle. If Rashee Rice can't play for them, who fills that spot? Because this wide receiver, we talked about it last week on the podcast, this room is thin. And so if you don't have Rashee Rice, I just don't know where you go next. He's the only guy to me in that room who has the ability to get 100 yards in back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I had Rashee Rice at number 8 on my list.
That's low.
At number 8.
Who's on your list, sir?
Yeah. Well, you're gonna find out.
James Winchester coming up next.
You're gonna find out. You're gonna find out.
Man, that is low. Where was he on yours, Jeff?
He was 4th, and I agree with you. It's a problem. I was actually going through the list of the leading receivers in terms of yards last year, and I came up with 25 names of players I would take over him right now as a receiver. Like, I don't even think he is considered in the same company as some of the number 2 receivers in this league right now. And so if that's your best wide receiver, yeah, he better have a tremendous season.
To that point,
32 number 1s, right?
Well, there's 32 guys that will lead a team.
This is like, I mean, this is going to hit with Soren and my, like, how many aces are there? With the Royals used to talk about, there's actually only 10 aces or whatever it was. But
in all of baseball, that's right.
And maybe there actually only are 15 number 1 wide receivers.
That's what I mean.
My point is, if he's number 26, that is a number 1 theoretically.
Yeah. Theoretically.
Yeah. I didn't have him
actually.
higher.
Go ahead, Soren.
I don't have him higher because I think he is what he is. I think he's going to be good as long as he plays. In some ways I look at it, I've kind of got one way of grading it with him in a different way, because that's a different way of grading it for why I've got Jalen Moore so high, because I think there's such a swing. If Rashee Rice would take a step forward and be a true number 1, the offense really hums. with all the other pieces that you think are going to be good. I just think Rashee Rice kind of is what he is. I don't think he works hard enough to get any better than what he's been. Slants and bubble screens, I think we're going to see more of that. If this offense takes another step, I think it'll be somebody else. So by that very nature, I guess you could say, well, if he does take a step, then this offense is really going. Yes, I agree. I think Rashee Rice, football isn't important enough to think that Rashee Rice is going to be anything other than what Rashee Rice has been.
Well, the argument for sure is not that Rashee Rice is going to have a monster season. The argument is that if he has a bust of a season, like the years he's had the last two, where he hasn't even combined for 1,000 yards over the last 2 years, this offense is in real trouble. Yeah. If Rashee Rice is not an effective player and you're turning to Xavier Worthy, Cyrus Allen, Tyquan Thornton, and Jalen Royals, that's a problem. And I don't care how good your running game is. You've got to have somebody you can depend on to throw the ball to.
Yeah, I would agree. You got anything to add on Rice, Jeff?
No, I'm making the same point. Like he is the best they have at that position. And he's probably the best receiver they have. If you want to pop up Travis Kelce and talk about his numbers and what he's doing at an advanced age, that's one thing. But he is a player that has to be their best receiver for them to be optimal offensively.
Okay. All right. Well, I've got the pick that'll go down for the 7th best player, and it's number 5 on my list. And I'm a little surprised that Jeff didn't beat me to him, but I have Mansour Delane. Big shoes to fill. Trent McDuffie gone. They gave 3 picks to invested 3 draft picks in him. He has to play at a high level. If those 3 picks, if he's hurt, if he's just okay, they're screwed. They're screwed now, and they're screwed for years to come. I can make a case that Mansour Delane could have been higher on this list than where I put him at number 5. But I think he's got to play at least well. And if he plays great, then they have a chance to be the kind of defense they were last year. Because I think they've got pretty good depth at corner. Question is, do they have a guy who can just blanket a really top shelf wide receiver? And the other aspect I'd add to it is corner is a reaction position. It's not one where you need 3 years of seasoning to figure it out. So he ought to be able to step on the field and be pretty good pretty fast if he's got the skills. Where'd you have him, Jeff?
He was 3rd on my list, or 4th, depending on if you had Patrick Mahomes at the top of it. So he was coming
Mahomes is number 1. So
yeah, so he'd be 4th on my list.
So then where was Rice?
Rice was 5th.
Okay. All right. So around.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah,
it's a valid point. I was going to go to him next because not only was his draft capital significant and the hype around him, substantial, but look, Josh Allen is coming, Joe Burrow is coming, Justin Herbert's coming. There's a lot of really good quarterbacks in this league, a lot of really good offensive minds in LA, Matthew Stafford, Sam Darnold. Like, we can go up and down the list of the quarterbacks they're going to see. If he can't cover people and take people away, yeah, I don't know how it's going to look. Yeah. It's going to be hard.
Yeah. Sam, where you got Mansour Delane?
He was 6th on my list. And I guess the only thing I'd add to it is that the other 2 guys who are in competition to get snaps on the outside right now. Noah Williams played in more than 36% of the defensive snaps in 2 of the first 12 games. Christian Fulton was benched. Like, he wasn't even dressing out for games over the middle of the season. And if Mansour Delane isn't part of this, and like you're starting both of those guys, nope. I mean, I don't care how much you've improved your pass rush, that the quarterback won't need any time to throw the ball.
Yeah. All right. So we're ready for number 8 on the list. Jeff, this will be number 7 on your list. Who do you got?
Guys getting married this weekend. Big marriage plans with a celebrity rock star, wherever it's going to be, Travis Kelce. And he is high because of the Rashee Rice argument, but he's also high because he's Patrick Mahomes' safety net. He's, certainly still playing at a decent level, but he's also about to be 37 years old, and we don't know how he's going to perform at that advanced age. I thought he's done a great job taking care of his body and avoiding major injuries, but players at this age can tend to break down a lot. And
especially when they spend their entire summer getting ready for a wedding.
Yeah, that's part of it. Yeah, he's going back to the 2024 off-season plan. But I just don't – I think he's going to be a huge part of the passing game again, and maybe if Rashee Rice doesn't turn up the way we hope he will, that he'll probably be the most important weapon for Patrick Mahomes again, which is also problematic.
Where'd you have him, Sam?
I had him 11th on the list, but I actually thought that he was the hardest player to rank on the entire list.
I would agree.
Yeah.
So, but the Rashee Rice, the argument I made for Rashee Rice, you could make, like Jeff said, for Travis Kelce as well. And the second part of the Rashee Rice argument, you could make the same as well, which is like, do you want to have to start Noah Gray if Travis Kelce's out? Like, there's not much depth at this position.
Yeah. Item 13. I think that he just kind of is what he is. I don't think there's much variance there. I guess if he falls off a cliff, then they're in big trouble. I will grant you that. So that's why he made the list. The first time I did the list, he didn't even make it. And maybe that speaks to my naivete that he's going to just, keep working and be like he was last year. But last year he was just kind of steady Eddie. I don't think there's no breakout potential, but there is a like, oh my God, if he's not there, then what do we do? But I think if you get protection and you run the ball, then I think the receivers can become more involved. So I don't have him quite as high. I've got him at number 13. That means if I'm correct, Sam, number 5 on your list is available for you to pick at number.
No, I had Kenneth Walker 5th.
You had Kenneth Walker 5th?
So I had Simmons, Rice, Jones.
That's right. That's
Walker,
right. Yep. I didn't
Delane.
put him on there. Sorry. I forgot to add him to your list.
Yeah.
So then 8 is available for you, right?
Yeah, because I had Jalen Moore 7. Okay. Yeah. 8th, I'm going to go with another wide receiver for the same reason. I'm going with Xavier Worthy.
Okay.
And I think that he is the returning player, and you're going to have to let me get out the second sentence of this first. He's the returning player with the most room to grow. And that's not saying he will grow. I think he's got the most room to grow, though. And I think he's been better in the summer than what I would have told you he was the last summer. That was a no contact camp with no pads. And you could, if you want to believe in Xavier Worthy, you'll point to the fact that he was hurt all last season. And Andy Reid actually said that they couldn't run everything that they wanted to with Xavier Worthy. I remember Andy Reid at the Combine after his rookie year saying, wow, he can run a lot more routes than we gave him credit for coming out of college. And then we didn't see that in his route tree a year ago. And I think they'll say, well, his shoulder was hurt and he had to have surgery after the year. So that's why I said I think he's got the most room to grow. And I'm just not predicting it. But a guy who could actually make this offense a lot better is Xavier Worthy, because safeties theoretically should be playing in. They should actually be biting on play action this year. He should have more space to operate downfield than he has in his first 2 years into his career.
And where did you have him, Jeff?
He was 10 on my list.
So where was Jalen Moore then?
I'm sorry, Jalen Moore was 11.
Okay.
Yeah. Just whatever I had, just bump it down one.
Okay.
I had my list 1 starting with Kenneth Walker.
That's how I had, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So then, all right.
Where'd you have him?
I have number 9.
Okay, so we're all in the same ballpark.
Yeah, we're in the same ballpark. I mean, I have Rice and Worthy back to back. I mean, one of those guys has to produce. I mean, one of them has to take a big step forward. And I'm not really that optimistic that either one is, even with better coaching. I think we'll get the best version of what we've seen before now. Right? You'll probably get the rookie year of each is what you're going to get. Their heads won't get too big, but they could really use somebody emerging as a true number 1. And I don't know that the physical tools, the speed is there for Rashee Rice and the size isn't there for Xavier Worthy. Put them both together and you got a great wideout. Individually, they're defendable in their own different ways. I think there's
what an exercise. We'll take all your best traits and all your best traits and mesh them together.
Then you got something, right? That makes sense, right?
Yeah. So Soren's approached this from the standpoint of let's protect Mahomes as best as possible, and who cares? Nobody can get open. It's 7 seconds of protection.
It's not who cares. I just don't think they're going to be that great at the wide receiver position. The running back is going to have to be important. You notice the running back ahead of the wideouts.
Well, the fact that they're not going to be great at the wide receiver position actually is why Jeff and I have them ranked particularly high. Like, you need these guys to be good.
You need them to be good, but I just don't think there's any, I don't think they're going to be what they are. I don't see something different coming out.
I can't
I don't
wait
know.
until we pick records for this team later in the offseason.
Oh, that should be interesting. That should be interesting for sure. All right. We've still got a little ways to go here on the list. We'll take a break and keep chugging along after you hear from our friends from Italian Delight. Italian Delight was the first restaurant to bring true New York-style pizza to Kansas City almost 50 years ago. They sell whole pies or pizza by the slice, or enjoy their classic strombolis, calzones, and sausage rolls. Sandwich lovers, check out their lineup of hot and cold subs, the combo, the meatball, or the Philly cheesesteak, just to name a few. And don't forget the pasta. Their famous lasagna and classic chicken Alfredo always hit the spot. And if you're hungry for lunch, check out their daily lunch specials, starting at under $10. Italian Delight can even cater your next work function or party. Dine in, carry out, or delivery, it's Italian Delight. Located just 3 minutes east of Kansas Speedway at 8145 State Ave in KCK. Check out the menu and order online at ItalianDelightKS.com. Kansas City's own Italian Delight. If your property needs asphalt or concrete work, Gann Asphalt and Concrete is ready to help you. From parking lots and drive lanes to sidewalks, curbs, patching, seal coating, crack filling, and repairs. Their experienced crews handle projects of all sizes throughout the entire Kansas City metro. Whether you're fixing problem areas or planning a larger paving project, Gann focuses on quality workmanship and dependable service from start to finish. No matter what shape your pavement is in today, they can help improve it. Request a free estimate and learn more at GannAsphalt.com. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lots. All right, we're up to pick number 10 with Patrick Mahomes at number 1. We're at pick number 10 on the list, and we are back to me, I believe, on this one. My highest returning, let's see, I've not been marking them off. My highest on this list is R. Mason Thomas. I have R. Mason Thomas at number 7 on this list because I think he's the only guy. I think Ashton Gelati is going to be a rotational player. I don't think there's the burst there to really get after the quarterback. I think he may be a solid player. If he does develop, it's going to be like year 3 or 4. It's going to be a late blooming Trey Hendrickson type of thing. But R. Mason Thomas has a burst, likes that they haven't had over there. And I also think this is going to be critical for, Steve Spagnuolo to find a way to use him. And I think he's the guy that could really start to separate the field. If he's as good as George Karlaftis, both of those guys can chase 10 sacks, right? Like the combination of yet not being able to shade your protection one way or the other. And I don't think it can be Ashton Gelati. I don't think it's going to be Felix Anudike-Uzomah. I think it's got to be this kid. And so if he comes on, and it's another position like corner that is a quick twitch position. It's not a lot about, yes, you got to be able to set the edge. There's technique that goes into that. But a lot of what it is to be at least a good pass rusher is just raw athleticism. And he seems to have that. They took a guy that's somewhat, as much as Steve Spagnuolo doesn't want to hear it, out of character from his body type that he's had most success with. So I'm assuming he signed off on that. I'm assuming he saw something he liked. And I'm assuming this kid's going to get on the field. Because there was other defensive ends that were available that a lot of people would have said, including the kid from Missouri, would have been a better all-around fit. They went for this kid because he's supposed to be a pass rusher. So get to the quarterback. He can go a long way towards helping this team if he's able to consistently pressure the quarterback. I am overall on my list number 7. Where'd you have him, Jeff?
It was not on my list. We were pretty close for all the same reason you just said, that he's here to energize the pass rush. He is a different type of player than they've had before. And I just think that if he can't be that, then again, like George Karlaftis, to use your phrase, he is what he is, right? And so we know what he's going to give you. But if this player could be anything close to, I think some people have made the Derek Thomas reference, like impact, then that would be huge because they haven't had that in, God, when's the last time they had that?
Yeah.
I wouldn't put Frank Clark in that category of what he did when he was playing.
Tamba, I would say.
Yeah, Tamba. Yeah, the D4 was probably the guy.
Yeah, 1 year D4 was really good. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, just that element to your pass rush is super important. So, he's definitely there for me.
Okay.
He also has the chance to make a long-term impact and make the Chiefs realize that there are more than one way to skin the cat. It's just getting pressure on the quarterback is the object.
Okay. Number 11 on our list. Where do you go, Jeff?
Peter Woods. And these two are back-to-back for me. And Peter Woods is the first-round pick. I mean, we don't talk about him that way a lot, or we haven't because he hasn't done anything yet, but he is a first-round pick. And so I'm fully expecting him to have the same kind of pressure on him that Mansell Delane is facing. Maybe not as much because Delane was higher and involved a draft day trade, but ultimately Peter Woods is here to help make Chris Jones' life easier, to create interior rush. Again, different body type than what we've seen lately from this team in the trenches. And he's got to be a player who produces. This can't be FAU 2.0. You got to have a late first-round pick do a lot for you.
So he's 8 with Patrick Mahomes, number 1 on your list. He's number 8 on your list for us overall in the draft. He comes in at 11.
Yep.
I got it. Okay. Where'd you have him, Sam? I had him at number 10 on my list.
I had him at 13. I had R. Mason Thomas at 12 and Woods at 13.
Okay. That makes sense. All right, Sam, you're up next. Where are you going?
I went with Noel Williams, number 9. He's my number 9 overall. And I also think this isn't exactly the nature of the exercise. In fact, it's not the exact exercise, but I envisioned, like, if Noel Williams becomes a really good cornerback, the Chiefs could have cornerback locked up for the next 3 seasons. And, like, how valuable on rookie contracts at a premium position, and have left tackle on a rookie contract. Like, they could have some premium positions on cheap money while they're playing Patrick Mahomes, and then go out and get the positions that we've talked about at the top of this list that are weaker, like wide receiver.
And get easier to walk away from, Chris Jones, get easier to walk away Travis Kelce retirement or what have you. Then you've got some real money to go use on acquisitions.
Yeah, so I think him having a great 2026 can really influence what the Chiefs think about their own future.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Where'd you have him, Jeff?
He was 12 on my list, but I thought long and hard about Christian Fulton as well, just because of the money they committed to him and the need to have a veteran presence. And now I don't know what L'Jarius Sneed is going to provide in that regard, but I can't believe you paid $20 million for a corner who can't do anything for you in 2 years. And so I think that's an element for me that made Christian Fulton a possibility. But I think Noel Williams is the likelier player because of the longevity aspect of it.
If I have Jalen Moore where I have him, I probably should have had Fulton. I considered, but didn't have him on my list. But I probably should have, based upon my logic on Jalen Moore, the $30 million they're paying him.
Yeah,
put him up there. All right, so Noel Williams. By the way, he's 14 on my list. Is where I had Noel Williams. We're up to number 13, and that's my pick, right? It's Peter Woods is gone. Xavier Rhodes is gone. Rashee Rice. George Karlaftis is next on my list. Listen, we could probably throw the whole defensive line in here. Like, somebody's got to get to the quarterback. And I think Karlaftis carries. I've got Karlaftis here because the same kind of thing with Chris Jones. They've now put enough people in enough places that there's no reason that guys, they shouldn't all be getting a chance to work one-on-one. And there should absolutely 100% be a 10-sack season for George Karlaftis. Otherwise, what'd you give him the money for? Because now you've put pieces in place. Unless the cornerbacks are all busts, then okay, and they're getting the ball out in 1.9 seconds all the time. But barring that, and I don't think any of us feel like that's going to be the case. So there's no reason for there not to be a significant increase in sacks. So George Karlaftis needs to earn his money this year because last year was a disappointment.
It's interesting. I actually, now our 13 actually in a completely different order is my top 13, the 13 that we've picked.
In a different order? Yeah.
And to be candid, we said we were going to do 15. I actually only put 14 because I thought one of you guys would certainly go off the board at some point.
So did you have Karlaftis 10?
I had Karlaftis 10, yeah.
Okay.
So I need Jeff to go off the board here, I guess.
Yeah, he didn't make my team.
Okay.
He didn't make
your team. Okay. All right. So not on your team. All right. So Jeff, you're back up. What do you got here for number 14 on the list? It'd be your number 9 guy, right?
Yeah. I went Alohi Gilman.
Okay.
And this is probably, I wonder if this is off the list for Sam, because I think he's a little bit underrated for what he's supposed to bring to this team. They've had a lot of great success finding safety help. Tyrann Mathieu came in here a few years ago and played at a high level. Obviously, they got Justin Reed. That's not Justin Ross. Justin Reed. After that, who played at a high level, and Brian Cook put in a great year. And so they've been able to get by with some players who we didn't expect to do great things. And so I think there's a lot riding on Alohi Gilman being able to step in and continue that trend. Also because Jaden Hicks has gotten in the doghouse for whatever reason. Jamari Connor is an okay player, but he's not of the caliber of the guy that just mentioned. And so I think there's a lot of Alohi Gilman, especially with young corners out there, to be able to lead the secondary in a way that we take for granted sometimes, because those guys who I just mentioned did a really good job of being leaders when they stepped into that void.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. All right, that takes us through 14, right, with Alohi Gilman. By the way, did you have him on your list, Sam?
No, I really did only rank 14. Now, I had 7, 8 other guys I was considering, and he was among that group.
But he was not on it. So you do have another player.
Yeah, I've got 4. 14 is still available for me.
Because I've got 2 other players that have not been named. So this will be interesting. Who is 14 on your list?
Yeah, I just think it's a guy that we take too much for granted. He's the only guy outside of Patrick Mahomes who is the absolute best at his position. It's Creed Humphrey. And so I also think if Creed Humphrey was hurt, for example, suddenly we'd recognize the full value of Creed Humphrey, because who's the backup to Creed Humphrey this year?
Hunter Norzad.
Is it Mike Caliendo? Is it Norzad, who's never started an NFL game that has mattered? I mean, I think that this could look pretty bad, because I've shown the data before on just how much more Patrick Mahomes struggles when the pressure comes up the middle, and so I don't think that Creed Humphrey should be taken for granted here. Even though, and I recognize you guys probably didn't put him on the list because you know what you're going to get out of Creed Humphrey, but what you're going to get is really, really good, and what you could get without him is pretty poor.
I agree. And he's so good we don't worry about him. Right. That's
exactly
what it is.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great reason to maybe put him higher. That, like, if he goes down, you drop a long way there in the middle. I also do feel like they've got 2 good guards, and that makes it easier if they do have to replace somebody. But Creed Humphrey's great. I have no rub with that. Where did you have? I did not have him on my list. Do you have him on your list, Jeff?
He wasn't on my list, but I approached this more from the standpoint of guys who have questions about them. To step up and play. So that's why my list.
I think we all had an element of that, of guys who have a pretty unknown floor and ceiling that could really go either way. Yeah. And therefore, which way they go is very instrumental. I just, with Creed, man, you look at it, this entire exercise, and you're like, how can I really escape this list without putting Creed Humphrey's name on it?
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, you probably could put him in Mahomes stature, right? Just make him a no-brainer.
Yeah. Well, and how about this? How about to give us, the a Sweet 16? I'll make a last pick, and I'll make somebody happy in the comments, because I think somebody put it up there, and I do have him. He is number. Oh, I screwed up that copy and paste. He is number 12 on my list. Let me see if I can find the comment. Somebody said, I can't believe you don't. Oh, here we go. Ben, I'm surprised you guys, I think he meant haven't picked Butker. They are stuck with him, and it could be a long season if he's bad again. Agreed. You're absolutely right. He was number 12 on my list, which will make him the 16th player on the list, the 15 that we chose. We went 5 rounds deep with each of them. Yeah, he needs to be better. Right, like if they're going to be in these close games, he can't be, off, and we can't be asking Dave Tobe questions about his mechanics all year. That just can't be a thing. And he's being paid big money, so he needs to be just absolutely clutch in games. So I do think it's important, especially if you don't think some of the other things are going to come through. Then you need, every time you line up for 3, it needs to be good. Did you have Harrison Butker on your list, Jeff?
No. But one of the comments just made me laugh. Jesus won't say Butker.
What's that?
Jesus won't say Butker was one of the comments from Billy Bill, 81-2001.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's a fair point. Look, they're going to. I think we would like to believe they could get back to being close to what they were 3-4 years ago when Mahomes was MVP level. But they play a lot of close games. And a lot of these games do come down to what he does. And he is not, I would definitely echo that sentiment that he is not a surefire kicker anymore. And so whether that's a technique thing or just a bad season, but if he's going to be this moving forward, then they got to be worried about it.
Yeah. You didn't have him on your list. What do you think of the pick, though?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind it. I mean, he'd be in my top 53.
So you think you don't?
I honestly don't hate it. I mean, I guess if I probably, and this is an extremely rough estimate because there really were. I mean, look, I mean, Gilman was one of the other guys I considered. I guess maybe 6 other guys I considered, and I could see him in that 20 to 30 range, somewhere in there.
Yeah. Okay. There it is. The 15-16 with Patrick Mahomes, most important players, most instrumental players when it comes to the Chiefs getting back to the Super Bowl. We have laid it out. We're all pretty much on the same page. Jeff, you would have had the only guy I had Jeffrey Bossa listed as my number 15 guy. According to my list, we didn't get to 3 of you guys, 13, 14, and 15. Yeah. Who were those real quick?
Kyrish Tonga, Drew Tranquil, and Emmett Johnson for me.
Okay.
Huh. I didn't consider any of those 3. Tonga, I think, is a better pick than the other 2, though.
Yeah. I gave some thought to Johnson because I think it's going to take more than one running back to get there.
That's my
so I gave some thought to Johnson. So I did have some thought on that. But then again, I completed the assignment. I have 15 guys,
Yeah. Well, I actually strategized it the best, though, because I knew that somebody was going to go off the board. I'm actually surprised that I had to use all 14.
And that's usually how it works. Listen, you can support the Red, Gold, and Bold by supporting our great sponsors like Gann Asphalt and Concrete. Kansas City's best. If you own or manage a business, your parking lot says a lot about who you are, leaves the first and last impression with your customers, with your clients. If you've got problems, you need anything, concrete work, striping, crack filling, seal coating, paving, repairs, they do it all. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lot. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com and our friends at Italian Delight. Our buddy Renee, who runs Italian Delight, is here in the chat room today. He's a great fan of the Red, Gold, and Bold. You can see his great restaurant right there at 8145 State Ave, just a few miles east of Kansas Speedway on State Ave, home of the lunch specials starting at under $10, and the first restaurant to bring true New York-style pizza to Kansas City almost 50 years ago. It's Italian Delight. You can order online at ItalianDelightKS.com. For Jeff Chadiha, Sam McDowell, I'm Soren Petro saying thank you very much for joining us here on the Red, Gold, and Bold.